My father has been raising another man's son for him. He enrolls him in the best tutoring classes, saves money to buy him a house, dedicates his entire life to that mother and son, and even wants to drag me into making sacrifices for them too. But in the end, when the biological father returned, my dad was discarded like a crushed sugarcane husk, swept aside like trash. Now he sits painfully at my doorstep, begging to see me, saying that a child you've raised yourself is truly the best. What he doesn't know is that I was the one who brought that family of 3 back together. Because compared to my stepmother and her son, I hate my father even more. How could he be so cold to me? He was even willing to trade me off to a man with a history of domestic violence, just to get a bride price for his precious stepson. The year I turned 10, my dad had an affair. My parents argued and filed for divorce. Even though my mom was stricter with me, I still chose her without hesitation. But she just said to me, "Why did you choose me? To hold me back? Why follow me? So we can both starve together?" After saying that, she picked up her suitcase and left, leaving me with nothing but her retreating back. Every trace of her vanished from our home. My stepmother was my mum's good friend. I distinctly remember how close they used to be. Before my parents divorced, she often came over for dinner. Back then, she would always cry, complaining about how neglectful her husband was, while praising my dad for how good he was. My mom wasn't the best at comforting people. She'd just prepare a table full of food whenever this friend came over. But that didn't earn her an ounce of gratitude. Instead, that woman stole my dad, calling it true love. Flying that banner, she moved into my home. And with her came her son Cheng Cheng, someone I'd been afraid of since I was little. When we played together as kids, he would push my head underwater, really trying to drown me. He rarely smiled and always seemed gloomy. But my dad adored him. Even though Cheng Cheng bullied me constantly, my dad would often sigh and say, "Why can't Cheng Cheng be my son?" When my stepmother brought Cheng Cheng over, they told me to call him brother. I refused to speak. My dad slapped me so hard I crashed into the table. Honestly, I'd expected him to hit me. I'd even stepped back a little. After all, he'd hit me before. But back then my mom would stop him. Now, everyone around me was just waiting for me to get hit. I just didn't expect him to hit me so hard this time. He swung with all his might, and the impact of that slap broke half of my front tooth. Along with the tooth, I spat out a mouthful of blood. It felt like a beginning from then on. I endured beatings like that countless times. Our hometown was covered in bamboo forests. Sometimes, if I accidentally upset them, a thick bamboo stick would be broken over me, occasionally stained with my blood. The plant I hate most is bamboo, and my least favorite dish is stir-fried bamboo shoots with pork, because my dad would often joke, "Lisha, you've been acting up lately. Do you want some bamboo shoots with pork?" He wasn't actually offering me meat. He meant I had to hold out my palms, so he could whip them with a bamboo stick until the thick bamboo split. After that meal, my hands would tremble too much to even hold a bowl. That year was also when I started doing endless chores. During the new year, they hauled a huge load of fish from the reservoir, and I had to gut and clean every single one. My hands were covered in chilblains soaked in icy water. At first, it hurt terribly, but eventually they went completely numb. Meanwhile, the 3 of them stayed inside watching TV, snacking on dried fruits and biscuits, warming their feet by an electric heater. It must have been so cozy, because my shoes were soaked and my toes were trembling from the cold. The huge porcelain basin was filled to the brim with fish. It felt like it would never end. The aunt next door saw me and said to her daughter, "Look at Lisha. Do you still dare to divorce now? Would you let your child live under a stepmother?" My stepmother was a smiling tiger. She'd sweet-talk everyone she met. She especially loved praising my dad, even though he wasn't much to look at. She'd often say that she married him for nothing except his looks. As unbelievable as that sounded, my dad ate it up. He actually believed her. Unlike my energetic and straightforward mom, my dad always complained that she lacked any feminine charm. This two-faced woman would wipe down any chair I sat on over and over, and she'd give me separate bowls and chopsticks, refusing to let me eat with the rest of the family. When she prepared them for me, she'd say with a smile, "These bowls and chopsticks are the prettiest they're for Shah Shah." I knew exactly how much she despised me, just as much as I loathed her. She'd say my mom worked at a massage parlor, and earned a lot of money implying something shady. During meals or while watching TV, she'd suddenly remark, "Oh, Licia, how does your mom earn so much money? Have you ever seen how she makes her money?" I never answered. Then she'd turn to my dad with a pitiful look and say, "It's all your fault. I'm just a stepmother, no one pays me any mind." Whenever that happened, if my dad was nearby, he'd either slap me, kick me, or throw whatever was in his hand at me. At first, I couldn't help but cry when they picked on me. But back then, I didn't realize that children cry because they feel secure, because someone will comfort them. I remember one time, they brought up my mom again during dinner, and I couldn't help tearing up. My dad shot me a look of pure disdain. I'll never forget that look. It hurt even more than his beatings. Not long after, I overheard him telling someone, "I don't know what's wrong with her lately. She cries at the drop of a hat." Kids these days are so manipulative, using tears to deceive people. After that, I could never cry again. My dad wasn't much to look at, and my mom was only average looking, so naturally, I wasn't pretty either. But Cheng Cheng, just 3 years older than me, was already over 170 centimeters tall. They praised him for being handsome, while my stepmother always said I took after my mom and wondered how I'd ever get married. Even if I did, she said, I'd probably end up dumped like my mom. When she said that, I stared straight at her. She immediately slapped me, but I dodged it. Furious, she snapped, "What? Can't I even say a word about you? Do you actually think you're good looking? Look at you standing next to Cheng Cheng. You're not even as pretty as a boy." Then, in a mocking tone, she called my dad over. "Lord Lee, look at your daughter. She'd probably end up marrying some rich man someday." Huh? Huh? My dad's face was full of contempt as he said it. I couldn't understand how miserable their lives must be, that they needed to repeatedly put me down just to feel some sense of worth. But back then, I was too weak. I had no way to fight back. Yet, the person I feared most in that house wasn't my stepmother or my dad. It was Cheng Cheng. Every time I faced him, I felt overwhelming pressure. When his eyes fixed on me, I'd feel an inexplicable terror. I couldn't explain why. I washed everyone's clothes, including Cheng Cheng's. At first, I complained about doing laundry a few times, but all it earned me was more chores. They'd say, "You're just a girl. If you don't do housework, what use are you? Why should we raise you?" And what about Cheng Cheng? He was 3 years older than me, and never even washed a bowl. What use was he? I once said that, and my dad slapped me. He asked, "How dare you compare yourself to him?" Why couldn't I compare to him? Just because he was a boy with something extra between his legs. To avoid another slap, I didn't dare say it out loud again. Doing laundry wasn't the worst part. It was just that Cheng Cheng's underwear was always mixed in. I couldn't, or rather, didn't dare confront him about it. Strangely, Cheng Cheng was the only one in that house who never laid a hand on me. Yet he was the one I feared the most. I could only hint to his mom about it, but she just smirked and said, "You don't actually think your brother would be interested in someone like you, do you?" What kind of look was that? Even at 11, I understood what she meant. "You're so plain looking, what are you thinking? How could my son ever be interested in you? Don't flatter yourself. Take a good look at yourself in the mirror. How dare you even have such thoughts?" I didn't know who to talk to about how that made me feel. I didn't know how to say it or even where to begin. My dignity was trampled inch by inch. There was nothing left of it. But I absolutely refused to wash Cheng Cheng's underwear. It was disgusting. I'd just leave it where it was. Then, when I was doing laundry, he'd deliberately show up, pick it up, and toss it back into my washing bucket. I'd stand up and back away, but he'd grab my hand. His hands were ice cold. When I met his eyes, I instinctively felt terrified. I struggled wildly, but he leaned closer and said, "I'm not going to eat you. What are you so afraid of?" The bucket tipped over, and water spilled everywhere. My dad stormed over and snapped at me. "What's wrong with you now? It's just laundry. Why are you making a fuss again?" His voice was grating, like a drum beating relentlessly, echoing in my head. For a moment I felt like throwing up. I didn't know when this life would end. My dad was a bricklayer on construction sites. Maybe because he was strong, he always did more work than others and earned a higher wage. At his peak, I heard he could make over 1,000 yuan a day. My stepmother worked as his assistant. Every summer, they'd bring us to the city, claiming it was to take us out. But only Cheng ever got to have fun. I had to wash clothes, cook, and even help out at the construction site. Once, while moving bricks, one slipped and smashed right onto my finger. It turned purple instantly, and I couldn't stop myself from crying. My dad just glanced at me and said with disgust, "You're so delicate." It was an aunt from the construction site who brought me a bandage. But it was useless, my finger kept swelling. She rushed over, looked at my hand and asked anxiously, "What happened? Are you okay?" I thought I didn't care. I thought I was used to it. This aunt was from our village. She and her husband often worked with my dad on projects. She'd given me a lot of hand-me-down clothes, and I was grateful to her. But now, just one kind word from her made me burst into tears. The urge to cry was unstoppable. Tears rolled down my cheeks in big drops, falling on her hand and mine. In that moment, her eyes reddened too. She hugged me and comforted me, saying, "Child, things will get better when you grow up." Growing up felt so far away. When would I finally reach that day? Later, afraid my finger might rot, I gritted my teeth and pierced it with a needle. The pus that oozed out smelled foul, but thankfully, I managed to save the finger. Even with my hand in that state, they still expected me to cook. The breaking point came one day when my dad got off work early and took Cheng and me to the supermarket. Cheng picked a large box of yogurt. I saw the price, 18.8 yuan. Naturally, I reached for a small carton of plain milk, the kind that costs 2.5 yuan. At the checkout, my dad paid for Cheng's yogurt but put my milk back. He said, "We're going home soon. Why do you need milk? You can drink water when we get back." It was such a small thing, but I didn't know why it shattered me so completely. Was it the cashier's look? The fact that my dad singled out that one item from everything else, just because it was something I wanted? Was I really that unworthy? And Cheng was worthy. Even though Cheng was a son, he wasn't even my dad's biological child. I was his real daughter. Why did he buy Cheng several sets of new clothes for New Year, but made me wear hand-me-downs from relatives? How could someone show such blatant favoritism? I thought about how I came home from the construction site covered in dust every day, too scared to shower because Cheng was home. Then I'd rush around washing clothes, cooking and cleaning, only daring to bathe when the house was full of people. Every night I'd collapse into bed, too exhausted to even lift a finger. And what did I get in return? I wasn't even worthy of a 2.5 yuan carton of milk. I ran out into the street, arguing with my dad, demanding to go back to our hometown. He yelled at me, saying it was his home, not mine. The bus ticket back home cost 50 yuan, and he wouldn't even buy it for me. It was that aunt who bought my ticket. On the way to the station, she kept urging me to go find my mum. She said it was always like this when there's a stepmother, there's a stepfather. "Go to your mum," she said. I remained silent. Growing frustrated, she said, "It was your dad who cheated. Do you blame your mom? If you don't go to her, what will you do?" My mom doesn't want me. I clenched my fists, trying desperately to hold back the overwhelming emotions. I didn't want to cry. I really didn't want to keep crying. Why did I have to live so pitifully? But the words came out, choked with sobs. I could only keep my head down, too ashamed to even look at her. What would she think? That I'd become a burden to her? We weren't even related. I wasn't that shameless. But she just reached out and wiped my tears away, saying, "It's okay." She didn't mean it. She was just upset. When I returned to my hometown, my dad didn't give me any living expenses. There was still some rice left in the old house from before we'd left. I ate plain rice with pickled vegetables for 3 days. That's when my mum showed up. She bought me new clothes and new shoes. We hadn't seen each other for 2 or 3 years, and I honestly didn't know how to face her. But she said, "What's wrong? Now that you have a stepmother, you don't even know how to call your real mom." As soon as she said it, I, who hadn't cried in a long time, felt a sting in my eyes so strong I could hardly bear it. I'll always remember what she said during their divorce. She told me to stay with my dad because she didn't even have a place to live. Back then, I blamed her. I blamed her for not wanting me. But now, besides her, I had no one. Yet I couldn't even bring myself to beg her. The words stuck in my throat, impossible to utter. I could only stay silent. "Do you want to come with me?" she asked first. I could hardly believe it. Afraid she'd change her mind, I quickly said, "Mum, I'll be obedient. I won't make you angry. My grades are pretty good. Once I finish university, I'll earn lots of money and be filial to you. Life with me will be hard," she continued, frowning. "I can handle hardship. I can endure any kind of hardship. I can eat less. I don't need to buy clothes. I'm really easy to take care of. I can cook and do laundry for you too. I can do any kind of work." I said so many things at once, terrified she'd regret it. When I looked up, I found her face already wet with tears. Seeing me look at her, she wiped them away roughly with her hand. "Let's go. Mum's taking you with her." Only after finally being with my mom did I learn that she had been giving my dad 1,000 yuan a month for my living expenses. But my dad had never told me. He'd only say I wasted money, that I was just a leech sucking him dry. I went to school in town, only eating lunch at school for 4 yuan a meal, and walking home every afternoon. Later, when I started boarding at middle school and had to eat all 3 meals there, he complained I spent too much and said he'd give the money directly to the teacher to manage. In front of the teacher, he made me out to be some kind of monster. So every time I went to the teacher's office to collect money, the teacher would lecture me about how hard my dad worked on construction sites, how difficult his life was. Every time she said this, other teachers in the office, and occasionally students who walked in, would all stare at me. I felt like a monkey stripped naked in public. To avoid this humiliation, I started going to collect money less often. That meant I could only eat 2 meals a day at most. I was often so hungry I'd drink tap water. My first year of middle school was when I was thinnest, so thin that even pants with elastic waistbands would slide down. It wasn't until I went to where my mom lived that I understood what kind of hardship she was enduring. She was an experienced massage therapist and could earn 7,000 or 8,000 yuan a month, including a 300 yuan perfect attendance bonus. She worked all 30 days of the month without a single day off. So she could save at least 7,000 every month, because she lived and ate right there at the shop. There was no dedicated staff dormitory. At 10:30 p.m., after everyone got off work, my mom would take out her bedding and spread it on a massage bed that was 80 centimeters wide, 2 meters long, and 70 centimeters high. She slept on that bed for 10 years. I didn't dare ask why she didn't rent a place. I was afraid she'd think I couldn't handle hardship. She seemed to read my mind. She poked my forehead and said, "You think your mom earns decent money? Don't you need money for school? Don't you want a house in the future?" She'd been living like this all along, just for my future. My nose ached terribly. Looking at her fingers, deformed from the work, my heart twisted painfully. "You can get loans for school. I can buy a house myself. I want you to have a better life. Why are you crying? After not seeing you for years, you've gotten better at sweet talking to make me happy." She pretended to be impatient and handed me a tissue. During the day, I went to class. At night, I did my homework in the courtyard behind the massage parlor. After finishing, I'd help tidy up and even cook sometimes. I knew that because I'd transferred to a city school, my expenses were much higher than in town. I was terrified my mom might not want me anymore. The first time I cooked, I put my heart into it, using every skill I had. 3 dishes and a soup. I thought the color, aroma, and taste were all perfect. But I didn't expect my mom to start crying as she ate. I watched her tears drip into her rice, which she then swallowed mouthful by mouthful. After the shop owner finished eating and left, my mom helped me clean up. Suddenly, she asked, "Lisha, why weren't you smart enough to contact me sooner?" She kept her head down, wiping away tears with her hand as she tidied up. I panicked, thinking I'd done something wrong again. I'd rather sleep on a massage bed than go back there. Tears instantly rolled down my cheeks. Did I do something wrong? I can learn. I can change anything. I nervously picked at my fingernails. She pulled me into a hug. I'm sorry. I should have known earlier. How could they possibly treat you well?" My heart ached with a bittersweet yet solid feeling because of those words. On weekends when I was free, I proactively helped her massage a few clients. I thought she'd be happy. But that day, she took a day off for the first time ever. She dragged me along, walking endlessly by the river. Her face was frighteningly cold. It was the first time I'd seen her like that, and I didn't even dare ask her what was wrong. We walked until I felt the soles of my feet were about to break. Only then did she finally stop. I watched her sit down carelessly on the riverbank, covering her face with both hands. Her shoulders trembled. Suppressed, desperate sobs reached my ears, each one landing heavily on my heart. For the first time, my heart hurt so badly more than all the previous sorrows I'd ever felt combined. What had I done to upset her so much? She hadn't even cried when she divorced my dad. I didn't know how to comfort her, but I didn't want her to cry anymore. Mum, I'm sorry. Don't be sad. What did I do wrong? Tell me, and I'll fix it, okay? She finally lowered her hands. Her eyes were red as she questioned me. Licia, am I putting you through school so you can end up giving massages? No, I just wanted to help you. If I massage a few clients, you can massage fewer. How old are you? You? Giving massages? Is that the kind of work you should be doing? It's not tiring. I used to move bricks on construction sites during summer vacations. I could do that job. I can earn money, Mum. Please don't be angry. As soon as I finished speaking, she broke down crying even harder. I was at a complete loss, not knowing what to do. She cried for who knows how long before finally stopping. Suddenly she asked me, "Is having a mom who gives massages very embarrassing?" Embarrassing how? You support me through massage. It's me who's not good enough. I'm always causing you trouble. I threw myself into her arms and couldn't hold back my tears anymore. She held me tight. Licia, you absolutely must study your way out of this. Okay, I'll definitely get into the best university. I'll buy you a house. A really big house with a really big bed. The year I turned 15, I got into the best-ranked high school in the city. My mom looked at the acceptance letter, tears streaming non-stop. She told me she had bought a house right near the train station. I asked her happily if that meant we wouldn't have to sleep on massage beds anymore. She rapped my head lightly. What's wrong with the massage bed? Did the massage bed mistreat you? That house needs to be rented out to pay for your tuition and living expenses. Joy seemed fleeting. My mom laid out all sorts of calculations for me, talking about where this money would come from. Then she regretted it, saying she had still spent too much, that she could have saved even more. She bought new clothes less than once a year, because there was a staff uniform. Even so, she still complained she spent too much. But her words made me uneasy. I instinctively interrupted her. Mom, why are you telling me all this? Won't you still be here in the future? My mom smiled at me and pulled me into a hug. She patted my shoulder gently and murmured to herself, "My little girl has grown up." My maternal grandparents died early, leaving only an old mud brick house. Because I got into a good high school, my mom took me back to our hometown for the first time ever, saying we should visit my grandparents' graves. While burning paper money, she complained to them. "Do you blame me for not visiting often? Is that why you don't bless me?" As she spoke, she began to wail. I knelt beside her, put my arm around her shoulder, and comforted her. "It's okay, Mom. Our lives will get better and better. I'll finish school soon, then buy you a big house. When we're not working, we'll travel everywhere and eat all the delicious foods we've never tried before." She turned to look at me, her eyes filled with tenderness. A good life, our Shia must have a good life. A really, really good life, never suffer again. I've heard people say, bitter first, sweet later. My Shia has tasted all the bitterness. From now on, it's all good days. That night, we lay in the same bed. I touched her swollen, deformed knuckles, my heart aching. I cautiously said, "Mum, I found out high school also has scholarships and grants. I probably won't cost you much money. You should find a job with room and board. You don't need to worry about me too much. Maybe you shouldn't do this work anymore." She didn't reply for a long time. I reached out to touch her face. My hand came away wet with tears. I was scared and quickly held her tight. She sighed. "What's wrong? Getting clingier as you grow up?" "I'm fine. It's just that our Shia has become sensible." "Hey, your mom hasn't lived in vain." Early the next morning, when the sky was just beginning to lighten, she woke me up. She said she really wanted to eat the sour and spicy fish I made, and asked me to go buy it early so we could eat, and then go home. I had to go to town to buy it. One suggested taking a motorcycle taxi. She scolded me. What's wrong with walking a bit more? Your mom's money comes from these hands, pressed out little by little. Looking at her 5 deformed fingers, I blamed myself for not being thrifty enough. So I chose to walk. A motorcycle taxi took 40 minutes. Walking took 2 to 3 hours. The fare was 8 yuan. To save those 8 yuan, I walked step by step, hoping to make it back by noon. But many times later, I hated myself bitterly for being so dense, for begrudging those 8 yuan. When I returned, she was lying on the bed we had shared the night before. My heart panicked to the extreme. I tentatively called her several times, but she didn't respond. I moved closer. Her eyes were tightly shut. I touched her nose. There was no breath at all. I also saw an empty pesticide bottle next to the pillow. My legs instantly gave way. I tried desperately to make a sound, but nothing came out. I pounded on the door, finally managing to scream. Something's happened to my mom. Someone. Help. My mom drank poison. Everything after that was a blur. I only remember a few uncles and aunts from the village helping me take my mum to the hospital. At the hospital, the doctor soon pronounced her dead. I knelt on the ground, begging them to try something else. No, she was perfectly fine this morning. Can't you pump her stomach? She even told me to buy fish for her. I just went to buy fish. How could she be gone? She wouldn't do this. How could she possibly drink poison? A female doctor held me tightly, patting my shoulder. Your mom's body is already stiff. There's really nothing we can do. I struggled out of her embrace and ran to my mom. I held her tightly. Her eyes were closed, her body stiff. Mum, open your eyes and look at me, okay? You cannot want me. Just live well, that's all. We agreed I would take you to live a good life. Why didn't you wait for me? I didn't have a mom anymore. It was all my fault. I could have not gone to school. I didn't need a house. You said you would stay with me. You said you wouldn't leave me. Why? Wait for me. I'll become successful. I'll earn lots of money. I'll grow up soon. I can spend less. Please don't leave me. What do I do alone? Mom, how could you do this to me? I shouldn't have gone to find you. I shouldn't have been a burden. I'm sorry. You could have not wanted me. How could you die? I said so many things to her, but she didn't reply with a single word. She was really gone. From the moment my mom left until her burial, it felt like I was living in a nightmare, as if I just needed to wake up, and she'd be right there beside me. She'd wrap my head and tell me to be smarter, or save the chicken drumstick from her lunch for me. Somehow, my dad heard about it and came looking for me. He raised his hand to slap me, but I stared at him coldly. For some reason, the slap never landed. He demanded, "Why didn't you tell me about such a big event? Have your wings hardened already?" I didn't want to see him. I didn't want to see anyone from that side. I cut straight to the point and asked him what he wanted. But he put on a show of being deeply concerned, saying, "Your mom is gone, but you still have a dad. I'm here to take you home." A dad? I still have a dad? I thought only Cheng Cheng had a dad. I looked at him with sarcasm. "Li Xia, is this how your mother taught you to speak to me? Cheng Cheng has no father to look after him. What's wrong with me caring more for him? How can you be so petty? What's that got to do with me? Care for whoever you want. I don't want to see you. Get out." I was exhausted. I didn't want to argue with him. The sight of him made my whole body uncomfortable. "You think I want to care about you? If it weren't for your age, do you think I'd be here? You're a jinx. Your mother probably died because of you. Who knows how that short-lived mother of yours raised you? You were only with her a short while and became like this." He continued cursing beside me. My emotions snapped completely. I lunged at him, biting his arm and refusing to let go. He hit my head and face. His strength was terrifying. I don't know where he hit me, but my nose started bleeding, and the floor was covered in blood. People nearby saw and quickly pulled us apart. They were saying so many things. My head hurt terribly. Those buzzing noises made me feel awful. Then everything went black and I collapsed. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. My stepmother sat in front of me. Seeing I was awake, she started yelling, saying how heartless I was to bite my own father's hand until it bled. Seeing her endless chattering, I just felt incredibly disgusted. Nurses, doctors, and other patients nearby were all looking at me. At that moment, I suddenly started wailing. Are you trying to drive me to my death? Wasn't forcing my mom to her death enough? Why, as my mum's friend, did you steal her husband? Isn't it enough that I did all the laundry, cooking and chores for your family of 3, that I was your beast of burden? Auntie, don't you have a conscience? My mum was so good to you. How could you do this? You could have killed me instead. Why did you have to bully my mom like that? Are you even human? While living with my mom, I had joined a poetry recitation club. I enunciated each word clearly, with rhythm and inflection as I said all this. Now, everyone around looked at her with disdain. She was stunned by my words and fled the hospital in embarrassment. That afternoon, my dad came. I hadn't planned to eat lunch. Being on and 4 was bothersome. Unexpectedly, a mother with a child in the next bed had prepared lunch for me. Trying hard not to cry, she looked at me and said, "Child, you must live well. Take care of your health. Otherwise, if you suffer, your mom will worry." We exchanged contact information. Much later, I learned that during that time, she was going through something very difficult and had felt suicidal. At seeing me, a child without a mother that day, she didn't dare die anymore. She was afraid that if she died, her child would be bullied. She was afraid her child might end up like me. After my stepmother left, my dad came in the afternoon. Surprisingly, he didn't curse at me or rage. Instead, he spoke calmly, saying things he'd never said before, nauseating things. Like, "Your mom is gone, but you still have your dad. Dad will definitely take good care of you. Dad has a bad temper. Don't take it to heart." How dare he? How dare he compare himself to my mom? The crowd is easily swayed. Many people were urging me to go back with my dad. After all, I was a minor without a guardian. Only that mother with a child sent me a text, telling me to contact her if anything happened. My only remaining legal guardian was my dad. At the time, I only had the few thousand yuan left after my mom bought the house. Thankfully, that house was rented out. I could survive on my own. Right there in front of everyone, I described how my dad had mistreated me in the past. How he had abandoned his wife and daughter. How he had abused, beaten, and tormented me. I tore his reputation to shreds piece by piece and ground it underfoot. My dad loved face more than anything. This must have been the most humiliating day of his life. Some people on the scene even wanted to call the police. But since I had been with my mom afterwards, there was no evidence for the more recent period. My dad left shamefacedly. As he left, he glared at me and said, "You've grown some backbone. Don't ever come begging me for anything." His look was practically murderous. I moved into the old mud brick house my maternal grandparents left behind. Behind the house were vast bamboo forests and some graves. My mum was also buried back there. People in the village advised me not to fight with my dad. What feud can last between a father and daughter? Aren't you scared living there alone? Scared? Of ghosts? I'd love to see one. Even just one glimpse. If only my mom could let me see her one more time. Why did she leave so decisively? I don't even have a photo of her. She never liked taking pictures. All I have is her ID card. It was supposed to be cancelled, but I begged the village chief to let me keep it. I have nothing else left, only this. I'm afraid one day I'll forget what she looked like. If that happens, I won't be able to go on. I wear her old clothes, sleep on her bed. Her scent was still on the pillow. But as days passed, the scent faded more and more. Her traces in this world are being wiped away bit by bit. The only reason I keep living is her long-held hope for me. That I would become successful. That I would study hard. I counted the days one by one. Every day, besides eating, I practiced problems and memorized vocabulary. That high school we worked so hard for me to get into together, I couldn't waste it. When it was almost time for school to start, I needed the household register to enroll. I called my dad about the household register. He mocked me over the phone. "Aren't you so capable? Go to school by yourself. See if the school will take you." My heart turned utterly cold. Why was this man my father? Why was I connected to him? But now that Mum was gone, I only had myself. Then I'll have no choice but to call the police and report you for abandonment. I met a lawyer at the hospital. She has a good heart and can't stand people like you being so immoral. She said she'd help me pro bono. Fine. Licia, you've grown some backbone. You dare threaten me now. Don't ever fall into my hands. I didn't want to hear his voice anymore. This is evidence too. Since you don't plan to give it to me, we'll see each other at the police station. Come back and get it yourself. He hung up. I don't know how long it took before I felt like myself again. My whole body was trembling. I squatted on the ground. I had been pretending earlier. I was still terrified of him. When he shouted at me, yelled at me, I still couldn't control my fear. I was disgusted with myself for being so weak. Mum, I miss you so much. I'm so useless. That night, I lay in bed and spoke to the pitch-black room. It took a lot of effort to finalize a time with my dad to go back and get the ID card. My grandmother's old house was far from theirs. I took a long bus ride to get there. The sky was pouring dense rain. The wind flipped my umbrella over several times. So even with an umbrella, I was soaked through. Finally, I arrived at that house. I took several deep breaths before daring to knock. Unexpectedly, it was Cheng Cheng who opened the door. Not seeing my dad, I relaxed a lot. But when I realized Cheng Cheng was the only one in the house, I couldn't help feeling terrified. He stared straight at me, and all those extremely uncomfortable memories came flooding back. I just wanted to get it over with quickly, and have him give me the household register. But he kept evading the subject. He told me to change my clothes so I wouldn't catch a cold. His eyes made me nauseous. I got scared and wanted to leave quickly. I'd rather wait for my dad to come back and get it from him. I ran towards the door, but found it was already locked. He grabbed my hair and dragged me back. For the second time, I felt the overwhelming disparity in strength between men and women. With my dad before, I felt that if he wanted, he could kill me effortlessly. Now, with Cheng Cheng restraining me, I had no power to fight back. I screamed for help, but outside, the rain poured down in sheets. No one could hear my cries. I was terrified to the extreme. His face came closer, his breath hot on my neck. Mom, save me, Mom. His entire weight pressed down on me. I felt like an animal waiting to be slaughtered. Just when I thought I had no chance left, when I was almost in despair, she complained, "So unlucky, raining so hard. Can't even play mahjong properly." Cheng Cheng covered my mouth. I bit down with all my might. The taste of blood filled my mouth. He cried out in pain. His mother heard the noise and ran over. My clothes disheveled, I rushed out. I ran in the rain for who knows how long. Only when thunder accompanied by lightning jolted me awake did I stop. I could no longer hold back my tears. Rain poured down on me. I walked step by step through the storm. How dare he? I'm going to the police. When the rain finally lightened a little, I walked into the police station looking like a drowned ghost. I insisted on giving my statement. The police drove straight over and brought Cheng Cheng in as well. By then, Cheng Cheng's mother and my dad had also arrived. My dad started yelling at me the moment he opened his mouth. "Licia, what are you causing trouble for? Stirring up the whole family." Cheng Cheng's mother quickly added, "No, officer, look at her. Look at how she looks, and then look at my son. How could he possibly be interested in her?" Her words brought back memories of the past, her constantly insulting me. Insulting my appearance. Insulting my mom. I screamed back frantically. "Are you good looking? You're so ugly even a dog wouldn't want you. You've done every filthy, disgusting thing possible. You're just bullying me because my mom is gone, right? Aren't you afraid my mom will come for you at night?" The evidence collection process was complicated. His face turned extremely grim. It was the first time I saw that look of worry and anxiety on his face. He was terrified this would affect Cheng Cheng. He gave the police all sorts of explanations about how good Cheng Cheng was, his face full of anguish. But I knew this pain wasn't because his daughter had almost been raped. This pain was because his precious stepson might go to jail. That's what pained him. I shouldn't be sad. I shouldn't feel hurt by someone like him. But my heart ached unbearably, and tears still flowed uncontrollably. All these years I had never felt his concern for me. Not for a single moment. He didn't know about my studies. Didn't know what illnesses I'd had, what size shoes or clothes I wore. But he remembered everything about Cheng Cheng. When buying shoes for Cheng Cheng, he could naturally recite his size. He knew Cheng Cheng's favorite colors. what games he played, what foods he liked and disliked, all by heart. But everything about me was a burden, a nuisance, dead weight to him. He only remembered me when he needed free labor or a powerless punching bag. Why could he love Cheng Cheng, sacrifice everything for him? But why was I connected to him? Not long after leaving the police station, he stopped me. It was still raining. I hadn't even changed my clothes, just wanting to escape that place. But he blocked my way. It was as if his eyes were blind. Couldn't he see I was soaked through? Right. When had he ever really seen me? The wet clothes clung to me. He looked at me, his eyes full of disdain and disgust. Do you have to ruin your brother to be satisfied? I felt numb by then, just staring back at him coldly. What? Looking at me like that? It's because I didn't raise you right that you're so in need of a lesson now. He kept cursing. I didn't want to listen anymore and turned to leave. But then my stepmother walked over and knelt in front of me, begging me to direct any hatred towards her and spare her son. She cried, her face covered in tears. I felt sick looking at her. My dad looked at her with unbearable pity. He actually knelt down too. Putting on a tough act, he told me he'd never asked me for anything in his life. And he was only asking for this one thing. He promised to treat me well from now on. I felt a surge of something in my chest. It seemed hard to breathe. Then my stomach churned violently. I bent over and vomited violently beside them. I was going crazy. How could such people exist? I don't know how long it took before I calmed down. They were still waiting. I rushed into the rain and ran like mad. I wished they would all disappear. I would never let Cheng Cheng off, even if it meant mutual destruction. I had already made up my mind. If I pressed charges against Cheng Cheng, my reputation would be ruined. People would talk. But I wasn't afraid. I wasn't even afraid of death anymore. At least if I died, I could find my mom. But fate never let me go, because I went to the police soaked from the rain, and because Cheng Cheng hadn't gone all the way. I had no concrete evidence to prove I had been assaulted. When the results came out, I clearly saw my dad sigh in relief. His precious son was fine. He could finally relax. My stepmother gloated beside me. I told you. With your looks, how could anyone be interested in you? You're not fantasizing about my handsome son, are you? I rushed at her to hit her but was stopped by the police. One female officer looked at her coldly and said, "Evil people just can't be convicted yet. With a mother like you, I believe your son will end up staying with us sooner or later." I can't remember how I got back that day. I bought a bottle of the same pesticide my mom drank. I really couldn't do it anymore. I didn't know how to go on living. I had tried my absolute hardest. I really couldn't hold on any longer. I suddenly thought I understood why my mom killed herself. Living in such pain, it really is better to die. I lay on the bed my mother had slept in, tears streaming uncontrollably. I couldn't utter a single word anymore. Just as I was about to pick up that bottle of pesticide and go find her, the old, dilapidated bed suddenly collapsed. I lay amidst the debris for who knows how long before shouting into the empty room. "Mum, is that you? Mum, is it you? I'm sorry. I'm so tired. I really want to come find you." As I tried to stand up, my hand brushed against an envelope. Inside was a letter my mother had written to me, hidden under the straw beneath the sleeping mat. Only then did I learn that she had been sick terminal breast cancer. She had also wanted so badly to live, but she was afraid of being a burden to me, so she chose to leave the money for me instead. Holding the letter, I broke down sobbing. My mom, who never had a single good day in her entire life, slept on a massage bed for over a decade, with barely a few days of rest each year. Even her death was like this. She planned even her death the location, the method afraid of causing trouble for others. She wasn't very literate. The letter contained many pinyin spellings. The instructions that followed were just a few lines plans for the house, telling me to use the rent for my education. She also apologized to me, saying my tuition might have to rely on grants and part-time work. She added that if things got really difficult, I could sell the house, because people are what matter most. She knew to say such things to me, so why couldn't she understand that she was also the most important to me? There were many, many more words after that, all encouraging me to live well. Some were sentences she had copied from my composition books. She wasn't educated. She didn't know how to comfort me, so she looked for sentences in composition books. Those crooked, clumsy characters were engraved on my heart one by one. I pressed the letter to my chest, feeling the last warmth she left for me. She had so decisively given up her own life, yet she exhausted herself, clumsily trying to make me live on. Looking at that bottle of pesticide, I suddenly felt I could go on living. How could I easily abandon the life she had exchanged her own for? I threw the bottle away. Why should I die? They are the ones who deserve to die. In the days that followed, I had only one thought: to study. I wanted to get into the best university. I had to climb out. And I wanted to witness the retribution of those beasts with my own eyes. In the following years, my father didn't give me a single cent. He told me to sue him, and if I succeeded, he'd pay. I also didn't want to be entangled with him anymore. I watched as he put Cheng Cheng through university, and then graduate school. He only contacted me frequently for one thing: the house. He wanted me to give him the house for Cheng Cheng to use when he got married. I called the police many times over this. Shamelessly, he'd say that when Cheng Cheng became successful, I'd have a good family to rely on. I retorted, "The only way I'll have a good family is when you're all dead." If the police hadn't stopped him, he might have hit me again. He quieted down for a while. I thought he'd temporarily stopped scheming against me, but I later realized I was being naive. When I first started university, he and my stepmother suddenly started contacting me frequently. I blocked his number and my stepmother's. They used one number after another. Curious about what they were plotting, I answered once and was infuriated. My stepmother was trying to set me up with a man, 43 years old, whom she praised to the skies, saying I could live a good life with him. I shot back, "Well, I know a wealthy lady who just turned 50. If Cheng Cheng marries her, he can skip 3 lifetimes of hard work." She called me inhuman for insulting Cheng Cheng like that. They only see themselves as human. When have they ever treated others as human? Later, my ID card was about to expire, and I had to return to my dad's area to renew it. I thought he would have given up on his schemes by then. I never expected that when I went home to get the household register, he would lock me inside the house. A fat, greasy man opened the door and came in. My heart turned to ice. I wished I could have taken a knife and stabbed the whole lot of them. I used a self-defense electric stun device to shock the man. Taking advantage of their momentary confusion, I ran out. My dad chased after me, yelling about how great that man was, telling me we should cultivate feelings. While running, I was hit by a car. That's when I met someone who would change the course of my life, Sheng Qingyang. He was a man with paralyzed legs. He and his driver took me to the hospital. Sitting in his wheelchair, he looked at me calmly and asked if I was hurt anywhere. I recognized him. I'd only ever seen him in finance magazines before. His company was the one I most wanted to work for, but the requirements were strict, and it was very hard to get in. I seized this opportunity. When he asked what compensation I wanted, I said, "Can I work for your company?" Then I gave him my resume. Just like that, I came to work beside Sheng Jingyang as his assistant. As for my dad, with Sheng Qingyang's help, I quickly transferred my household register out. He could no longer affect me, but I didn't cut off his ability to contact me again. Why should I always hide and run? My dad, in a self-righteous rage, thought I was being ungrateful. The man he tried to set me up with was actually 30, a widower. Digging deeper, he had a history of domestic violence. My dad was introducing me to him just to get a bride price of a house. Later, seeing he couldn't gain anything from me, he really gritted his teeth and bought a house for Cheng Cheng, a man in his 50s, killing himself on construction sites every day to pay the mortgage. He often complained to me about his hardships. I listened calmly and waited for him to be squeezed dry by that mother and son. My boss, Sheng Xingyang, was in a wheelchair reportedly due to a car accident. He hadn't undergone surgery, supposedly because the risk was very high. Compared to disability, life was naturally more important. He was very wealthy and generous, and he appeared extremely gentle. After becoming his assistant, we grew closer during a business trip to inspect a vast orchard owned by his family, miles of dense lychee groves, lush and thriving. I pushed his wheelchair as we walked. He told me this was where he grew up. I followed him to his secret hideout. We stayed there for a long time, but then encountered a torrential downpour. We were waiting in a small wooden hut for someone to find us when things took a turn for the worse. The heavy rain triggered a mudslide. I carried him on my back and escaped. Along the way, he kept yelling at me to put him down and run. It was the first time I'd seen him so frantic. I ignored him the whole time and ran desperately. Finally reaching a safe area, I set him down. Seeing the raging floodwaters below, carrying mud and rocks, I felt my legs trembling with fear for the first time. I wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid of dying before I had really lived. I wouldn't have the face to see my mother. It was so close. I collapsed on the ground. Sheng Qingyang, however, had calmed down. He patted my shoulder and said, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid." I threw myself into his arms and cried, "Sheng Qingyang, we survived. I can't die yet." His body stiffened for a moment. Then he held me and said, "I won't let you die. I'll make sure you live better than anyone." He quickly contacted rescue services. A helicopter arrived soon, and I was still in his arms. He reached out and wiped my tears, saying, "Little crybaby, let's go home." Having shared a life and death experience, we became close. Later, I often massaged his legs using the skills I learned from my mum. I had an ulterior motive from the start. My own strength was too weak. I was just an ordinary employee. Every time I thought of the past, I couldn't sleep all night. Even though I did well on the college entrance exam and got into a 985 university, Cheng Cheng was still living well. My dad was still wholeheartedly devoted to them. My dad even harassed me from time to time. I truly hated it. So I deliberately got close to my boss. Besides, he was thin and disabled in a wheelchair. I was terrified of men with great physical strength. I had countless nightmares of Cheng Cheng restraining me, leaving me powerless to fight back. Slowly, I started hinting at my life experiences to him. One day, we had both had a bit to drink. We sat on the balcony of his house. I smiled at him and asked if he wanted to hear something bizarre. As he listened, he suddenly draped the blanket from his lap over me. Then he pulled me into his arms, pressing me against his knees. I could feel his whole body trembling with anger. It was the first time I'd seen him look so furious, his teeth clenched. He stroked my hair and asked what kind of help I wanted. I looked up and saw his eyes were red. That usually gentle, jade-like man actually had such a fierce expression. And it was because of me. Suddenly, I felt a pang of guilt. He had been very open and honest with me. He encouraged me to pursue a master's degree. Eventually, I did an in-service master's, and he reimbursed all the tuition. He said it was a company benefit. But I knew the company policy well only degree upgrades directly related to one's job were reimbursable. With his encouragement, I also got an MBA. Because of him, I led many projects. My resume became more and more impressive. Even if I left the company one day, I could find a very good job. He taught me everything: studying, workplace experience, navigating social situations hand in hand. I knew this wasn't just a colleague relationship. I think I had fallen for him. The lighting, the red wine, the deep conversations about life. A kiss felt so natural. However, at the final step, he stopped. Shia, let's calm down for a moment. I knew what he meant, but I was truly lonely, and I didn't care about that. Besides, I liked him. Getting close to him wasn't just for my goal. It was also because I liked him. Just seeing him sitting there made me feel completely secure. I was the one who took the lead. I held him tightly, like a drowning person clutching their last lifeline. Only through intense passion did I feel truly alive. Through Sheng Qingyang's connections, I found Cheng Cheng's biological father. We set up a scenario, got someone close to him, and then casually mentioned knowing Cheng Cheng. We made him feel like he could go back and reap the rewards. At the same time, we provided some financial assistance, letting him think he had made money through a buying and selling business. A biological father who had supposedly gotten rich through business, versus a stepfather who was almost squeezed dry. Based on my understanding of my stepmother and Cheng Cheng, I was confident they wouldn't choose the second option. It happened quickly, faster than I imagined. The revenge I had dreamed of, with the of power and money, went more smoothly than I could have imagined. I made my father witness firsthand the deep father-son bond between Cheng Cheng and his real dad. Before we even had to intervene, they started planning how to kick my dad out and seize his assets. And my dad accidentally overheard them. When their plan was exposed, they didn't back down. Instead, A family of 3 united to deal with my dad, the outsider. What I had tasted back then, my dad finally got to experience. When he called to tell me, I just listened in silence. On the other end, he broke down, yelling at me to say something. I asked him what he wanted to hear. He cried and apologized to me, saying, "I'm sorry," over and over. I asked him if he knew what I wanted to do most right then. What? Tell my mom. Tell her you're like a stray dog now. Tell her your retribution has finally arrived. I need to go set off firecrackers at her grave to celebrate. Shia, I'm your father. How can you treat me like this? Don't say my name. It's disgusting. Finally, he cried and begged to see me. I, of course, refused. Then he sat outside my apartment door all night. When I opened the door and saw his desolate state, I felt an unprecedented sense of delighted. He looked at me and told me to live well, to find someone, get married, have children, and not follow the same path as him and my mom. It was fine until he mentioned my mom. Once he did, I couldn't control my emotions anymore. I looked at him and said venomously, "You remember me now? Weren't you so desperate for a son? Why aren't you with your precious son? He may not be biologically yours, but he's a son. What does that have to do with me? Someone like you is destined to die without descendants." Unexpectedly, he didn't argue this time. Instead, he said dejectedly, "Don't punish yourself for a father like me. I'm leaving, child." I didn't respond. I slammed the door shut heavily. Sheng Qingyang sat not far away, watching me with a complex expression. He had heard everything. He must know now what a dark, ugly person lies beneath my human skin. Not long after, I learned the subsequent news. The moment I found out, a flood of emotions surged in my heart, delighted, unease, and confusion. My dad, he killed Cheng Cheng. My stepmother ran fast and wasn't killed, but her face was disfigured. He wanted to call me from prison. I refused. My mom left with regrets. How could I let him have his wish at the last moment? I wanted him to die without the forgiveness he sought. It seemed like revenge was complete. Suddenly, I felt like I had nothing left to do. And Sheng Qingyang wasn't contacting me much either. I figured he must be afraid of someone like me now. I didn't know how much I slept every day. I slept during the day too, often waking up to find it was already dark. I missed Sheng Qingyang terribly. I could survive alone before, but after he left, the apartment felt frighteningly empty. I'd instinctively reach for the pillow, only to find no one there. Until his younger brother came to find me, telling me to go see Sheng Qingyang. I said he probably didn't want to see me anymore. But his brother yelled angrily, "My brother is going to have surgery for you. Do you know how life-threatening that is? Only a 30% chance. I'm begging you. Please stop him, okay? I can't lose my brother." Sheng Qingyang, such a rational person, would take such a risk? My heart was in utter turmoil. I ran all the way over and found him lying in a room with all the curtains drawn. "Get out," he said with his eyes closed. By the faint light, I saw his pale face, which made my heart ache even more. I walked over to him and hugged him. He opened his eyes and realized it was me. "Let go." His tone was stern, but held no threat for me. "Why are you having the surgery?" "Just want to stand up." "It has nothing to do with you." I kissed his lips. "How can it have nothing to do with me? The surgery is so dangerous. If something happens to you, I'll become a widow." He laughed in exasperation. Shameless. We held each other tightly, especially Sheng Qingyang. He hugged me with all his might. I don't know how long it was before I heard him sigh and say, "I want to stand up to hold up the sky for you." Tears instantly rolled down my cheeks. "Aren't you holding up the sky for me right now?" "Sheng Qingyang, if something happens to you, what will I do? My mom already left me. Are you going to abandon me too?" He reached out and wiped my tears. "Why are you crying? It's not a big deal. Haven't I taught you many times to stay calm when things happen? I don't want to. I have you. With you here, I don't need to be calm or composed." We fell asleep in each other's arms. He finally gave up on the dangerous surgery. We would wait together for more advanced technology and safer procedures. He was insecure about his disabled body, but he didn't know I was insecure about my incomplete soul. Meeting him was like a ship that had been adrift for a long time, finally reaching shore, a feeling of solid, down-to-earth security. Sheng Qingyang and I got married soon after. I took him to see my mom. Mom, do you see? I met a very good person. He treats me very, very well. Mom, I will live well, carrying your share with me. Sheng Qingyang and I traveled to many places. At each place, I took photos and burned them for my mom. I wanted her to see my life. Our company grew larger. We also started a social welfare program for women in need, providing formal, systematic training for women with little education or skills, helping them integrate better into society. Mom, I didn't lie to you. I'm becoming someone who can do powerful things. Time drifted away like clouds scattered by the wind. After weathering those storms, my life with Sheng Qingyang finally settled into a firm, gentle peace. He no longer mentioned the surgery, focusing more on running the company and carefully planning our future. He said that compared to standing, he wanted more to ensure he could walk a longer road with me. Our little home was often filled with laughter. On sunny afternoons, he liked me to slowly push him around the yard. He'd tell stories about his mischievous childhood in the lychee groves, or how awkward he felt seeing his photo in a finance magazine for the first time. I'd share trivial things too. What funny mistake the new intern at the company made, or which of Mum's recipes I tried cooking. Those dark past events, in our shared narratives, seemed to truly belong to a previous life engraved in memory, but no longer able to easily wound the present. Until one day I received a call from an unknown number. It was Cheng Cheng's biological father, his voice aged and weary. He said that after my stepmother's face was disfigured, her mind became unstable too. She often wailed and cursed at home. With Cheng Cheng dead, he had no hope left. His little business had long gone bankrupt and he was now destitute. He rambled on, and in the end, actually asked if I could lend him some money, considering we were once sort of family. Holding the phone, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window. Sheng Qingyang silently wheeled over and took my slightly cold hand. Into the phone, my voice was flat, without a ripple. There was never any family feeling between us. You, your son, your wife, you had debts with my father, and he repaid them in his own way. As for me, I owe you nothing. Please and your wife, never contact me again. I hung up and blocked the number in one fluid motion. Sheng Qingyang gently pulled me into his lap. He rested his chin on top of my head and said softly, "You did right. Some abysses aren't even worth a glance." I buried my face in the crook of his neck, taking a deep breath of his reassuring, clean scent. I just feel pitiful. They schemed and circled their whole lives, and in the end, they have nothing left. Only endless resentment and poverty. That was the path they chose. Sheng Qingyang stroked my hair. And you now have a bright, broad road ahead. Yes, my road lay ahead, bright and open. Sometime later, I accompanied Sheng Qingyang for a checkup. Looking at the latest report, the doctor showed pleasant surprise. He said the neural activity in Sheng Qingyang's legs was much better than expected, while fully standing and walking remained very difficult. With more advanced lightweight exoskeletons and ongoing rehabilitation, the possibility of achieving short-distance supported movement in the future had greatly increased. This was the best news. We looked at each other and smiled, fingers tightly interlocked. Leaving the hospital, the sky was a clear, washed blue. As I slowly pushed him, I suddenly remembered something and leaned close to his ear. "Qingyang, the Women's Skills Training Center we fund is having a graduation ceremony next week. They invited us. I was thinking to set up a separate scholarship in my mom's name, specifically to help single mothers or daughters in difficult situations who want to study hard." Sunlight fell into his clear eyes, spreading a warm smile. "Okay. Mom would be very happy to know." "Mum," I called softly in my heart. "See, I didn't get trapped in the mire of the past. I transformed the most painful love you gave me into strength to move forward. I've seen all the scenery you didn't get to see. I also met a very good person, and together we're doing things that might light up a corner of someone else's life. The flames of hatred once scorched me, and also consumed those who harmed me. But on the ashes, I finally learned how to sow peace and hope." Sheng Qingyang's palm was warm and dry, tightly enveloping mine. We would keep walking down this road, slowly, steadily, hand in hand. The wind rustled through the treetops as if carrying a distant, gratified sigh. I lifted my head and looked towards the boundless blue sky. where clouds drifted freely, serene and at peace. The end.